So, Lynn and Dave, good morning. And Joanne, good morning, everyone. Happy Halloween. Yes, happy Halloween. Let me see who else is here. Happy Halloween, Rick and Lauren. Nice to have you here. Carolyn, good morning. Nancy, happy Halloween. I definitely bought candy yesterday and I've had a few pieces, which I usually don't do. So, um, yeah, happy Halloween to all of us. So this, I have class next week. So just to let everyone here know, next week I teach in 8-week sections and I take a whole week off in between. So next week we will be here next Saturday, and we're here today. And good morning, Dina. So this is a weekend kind of to, I think, because we have the election on Tuesday, there's a lot of heaviness and stuff that's in the air. So I think even more now than ever, it's important to take those times out where we intentionally say we're going to take a break. And so I always say, let's take that time. And present moment living is really one of the most amazing therapeutic aspects of what yoga teaches us, is how important it is to be in the very moment, and how at every single moment we have the opportunity to actually not be in a place of stress. So we talk about stress management or stress reduction. If you want to talk about managing your stress, when you can stay present moment, when you cannot let what happened yesterday or tomorrow affect you, meaning that you don't live in that place mentally, that you live in whatever's happening at this moment. So if you're getting a massage, you're getting a massage. If you're eating kale, you're eating kale. And if you're eating a candy bar, totally enjoy the caramel, the chocolate, the nuts, every aspect of whatever it is you're doing. So without a judgment, without an emotional response, should I, shouldn't I, guilt, this is not good for whatever you're doing, do it. And and then eventually, hopefully, the choices you make are better and more about taking care of yourself. So, with that today, can we just do a little to release whatever we came here today with? So, wherever you are, come into a comfortable seated position. Let me see who else. George and Cindy, hello. Martha, good morning. So, come into whatever is a comfortable seated position for you. And I'd like to offer a new seated position. I know I say this quite often, so it's not new for some of you, but if you can sit in what's called Vajrasana, Hero's Pose, this is a nice way to get yourself in a spinal alignment position. So if you could find this nice spinal alignment, come into that. And maybe for you, it needs to be Sukhasana, which is an easy seated pose, which your legs are crossed, whether they're crossed at the ankles or whatever. Come into something for a second, because we're going to actually begin by letting go of things. So wherever you are, you're going to come to wherever you are. Just close your eyes. And of course, if you need to keep them open, you can do that. I'd like you to let yesterday be in the past and let tomorrow be in the future. So we're going to make this intention that we're going to release yesterday and release tomorrow. And yesterday doesn't mean the day that just happened. Yesterday means everything that's happened up until now. And we're going to release all of that. So we're really going to be present moment. We're going to send the signal to our primitive baby brain, our reptilian amygdala, what has kept us safe for all of these years and what is constantly trying to keep you safe. We are going to pacify that part of us right now by staying in this present moment. So I'd like we could use hands if you'd like. The hands could be a part of it, where you inhale as if you're ushering in all the thoughts and all the stuff from whatever was from yesterday as in yesterday, or yesterday as in 50 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it is. And then hold on to that. You could use your fists or just bring that here as if you're really fully showing up to bring that into your being. And then on the exhale, open your mouth and sigh and release and let go, let go, let go. Let's do that now for tomorrow. Inhale tomorrow. And then I want you to sigh and release. Que sera, sera. Let's do a couple of those. It could be tomorrow or it could be yesterday. Tomorrow meaning tomorrow 24 hours from now, or tomorrow meaning 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or whatever. So you inhale all of yesterday or all of tomorrow, whatever that means for you. Inhale it, bring it in, you're detaching from it. And on the exhale, open the mouth, sigh really long with sound. Yes, intentionally, I'm going to let go of you tomorrow. And I'm going to let go of you yesterday. And just let go of all of that. Feeling and noticing the weight that leaves you when you do this. If we could see the weight on your back as straws on a camel's back, you're letting go of the straws. They're falling to the side, they're falling back to the floor, and you are letting go of the straws. And then bring your awareness to how you feel. Notice if there was an emotional shift. Notice if there was a relief, any relief that came in. That weight that we carry with us of responsibility of what we think we need to do tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or what it is we've been carrying with us from yesterday, from last month, from 5 years ago, or from 50 plus years ago, or for those of you that would like to, from your last lifetime or time before that or whatever. Okay, so with all of that, with that relaxation, with the sighs, with the falling away and the stripping of the camel straws, we are going to come to our practice. So I'd like you to try to notice your mind right now. What happens to your mind? Don't let it go to yesterday or tomorrow. Keep your mind here. Bring yourself onto your back. And actually, before you go down on your back, let's do a little movement with the chest. Take your blanket or whatever it is you have, hopefully a blanket or a towel, so something pretty thin that you're going to fold into about this width, maybe 6 to 8 inches, depending on your body size. For those of you that are taller, have a longer torso, maybe a little bit of a wider fold, so that you're behind your heart and you're behind the least flexible part of your spine, your thoracic spine behind your heart, that is always weighted on from this upper part of your body, your shoulder joint, all this bone, all the skeletal aspects of here, this 10-pound head, the shoulder blades, the clavicles, all this bony structure here, the top of the arm bone, so much compressive force on this anterior portion of your spine. So let's give this, our heart, a release, a relief, a ah, and a sigh. Bringing yourself down onto the floor. If you have osteoporosis, coming down to the side like this is a nice, safe way to move. And if you don't, you could come down whichever way you want, but I'd like you to also start paying attention to how you move. How are you throwing your bag of bones around on a daily basis? So those bones, your skeleton is held together by ligaments, and it's mobilized or moved by tendons that are on the ends of the muscles. And that's where a lot of our issues start to happen in our body physically, is in the joints. And whether it's arthritis from years of wear and tear or from the process of aging, the stress on the body quite often shows up in the joints, in the ligaments, in the tendinous part of the muscles. So instead of throwing your bag of bones around, which is at that joint level, all the bending and the movement, let's start to move more thoughtfully with our body. When you come on the floor, having your knees bent at first is very thoughtful for your lumbar spine, because the tension we're creating behind the heart may be a lot more than you're used to. And it's going to translate down to your poor low back, which is why so many of us have low back issues, because all streams lead to the ocean, and much of the tension in the body leads to the center part, which is the back of the body, the low back. So let's raise our awareness to thoughtful movement, to minimizing the stress we allow in our bodies by carelessly or unconsciously throwing our bag of bones around. And it is like a bag of bones because it's held together by these connective tissue aspects. And we have control over that. Create length in the back of the neck, lift the head, lengthen the back of the neck. Place the center of the head on the floor. So you're setting yourself up for nice alignment, for space in your cervical spine, all 7 bones. You could even take your hands on your head to add a little traction. A little means a little. A little does not mean pull your head like crazy. So notice what your body feels okay giving you. And then the very center of the back of the head, that occipital ridge where there's that biggest bump in the head, if you try to place that onto the floor, or you may need something else behind your head. For those of you that have an anterior head carriage and some rounding in your thoracic spine, you may need to support the back of your head as well. And then let's come to the position that you are in with this nice elongated neck, releasing some of the stress, the held muscular tension, and the stress that's in the upper back and neck and cervical spine. Take the arms out to the side, palms are up, palms are open. This position, you're in this physical position. A lot about this. So first of all, it is going to go against the way we normally are in our daily patterns with texting, looking at our phones, computer, even watching TV, cooking, knitting, reading. So in one way, we do a little correction there. And then this aspect of correcting the thoracic spine, this is a much deeper correction than just lying down in this position. So noticing what you notice here, noticing where you may feel stretch. If you'd like an even deeper stretch in the postural muscles of the front of the body where the chest and the shoulder are, you could explore moving your arms up overhead to the place that you feel appropriate stretch. And then noticing if you went too far, come back to what is the most thoughtful and loving way for you to lay out your bag of bones. What is the nicest way you could treat the rotator cuff? The rotator cuff are 4 tendons that hold the humerus bone in the socket. That's what the rotator cuff is. It's 4 ligaments that are holding this ball, which is like an orange on top of a saucer. That's why there's so many issues and injuries with shoulders. So can you place your rotator cuff, your humerus head, your shoulder joint in a beautiful place where the stretch you feel is appropriate, not too crazy? And gravity from above is going to help to place that joint a little farther back in the capsule, which will put it back in its home base, and help to relax the tension of pulling when you are reading, looking on your phone, your computer, cooking. So reducing the stress on the rotator cuff. And then the stretch that you feel in your pectorals, your chest muscles, they tighten when we are in that forward motion. So now you're stretching those muscles so that that shoulder joint can sit a little deeper in the socket. If you'd like to explore straightening your legs now that you've been here for a few minutes, you could see if your low back will let you. I find that if I flex my feet, lifting my heels, when you flex your feet, your calf muscle will turn on. It'll lift your heel off the floor. And then you could lengthen your heels away from you, press them onto the floor, and even press the heels into the floor to lengthen your legs a little more. Notice what you notice, see what feels appropriate. Wider stance in the legs can be a little bit more releasing and reducing stress in the hip joint, the tension of what's holding the hip in the socket. So now that we're finding the stress release position, trying to release the muscular held tension in the body, trying to facilitate and strengthen an open position and a new way of holding the body or supporting the body. So this is a supportive position you're putting your body in. And hopefully during all of that, your mind was so busy in your body trying to visualize your rotator cuff on your humerus head that you didn't even spend any time in yesterday or tomorrow. And you were 100% in today. Let's bring our awareness to today, and let's inhale today and bring today, this moment, into our body. And right now, in today, your body is in a beautiful position, and you're doing something so beneficial for your body in this moment that will actually go with you into other moments. Let's follow the breath in. Let's stay with as much of today as you can. Full awareness on your breath. Breathing in through the nostrils to the chest, feeling the expansion of the chest with breath. If you're real quiet, if you're real inquisitive, if you turn your eyeballs inward, you may even start to feel your vertebra moving and your scapula moving. So the shoulder bones, the vertebra, you may start to feel some movement as the breath starts to deeply and subtly self-correct malalignment in your spine and in your posture. I say this because I notice it in myself. So this is not hokey pokey, something I studied or whatever. This is actually what I notice. And I was told by a physical therapist that a lot of the work that's being done today is more subtle and using breath to move the deep internal structure of our body. When you breathe, your lungs are pressing into your heart. Your lungs are pressing backwards towards your spine. Your ribs are gently moving as the lungs expand, and they're attached to your spine, so they move the vertebra. There's muscles in between your ribs that get gently stretched, especially in the front of our body, which is usually in contraction or flexion. So inhale today as deeply as you can and correct your posture. Support the rotator cuff in its beautiful position. It's the one area that most people in my world, with all the people I interact with, it's the main area that I hear about is the shoulder, even more so than the low back. And it's because we're in more of a seated and a forward folding presentation. Breathe deeply, bring in that postural correction. And then let's go a little deeper than your physical body. Let's go into other aspects of you. I'm going to do a breath called Sukha Pranayama, which is an even paced breath. I will count for 6 on the inhale and 6 on the exhale. It's a breath of peace, a breath of harmony, and a breath of bringing your body to a homeostatic position. So equalizing, calibrating your body and your mind. Using the mind to calm the body, and then the body helping to keep that loop of harmonization going. Take a deep breath into your belly and then release. And let's begin. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue on your own. Count in your mind. 6 on the inhale, 6 on the exhale. Feel the lungs fully expand. Feel the lower ribs move and the belly move too. Stay with your breath. Stay with counting. Stay in this moment. Finish up your last couple of breaths like this, regulating the sinus rhythm of the heart, bringing your internal environment into a calm, healing place. Finish up your last breath. Bring your awareness to your body. Bring your awareness to your right shoulder, your right upper chest. Notice whatever sensation you feel there in terms of opening or stretching. Bring your awareness over to your left side. Notice whatever you notice there in terms of stretching or opening. Notice if each side is similar or is one side more than the other. Bring your awareness up to your neck, to the right side of the neck and the left side of the neck. And notice if you feel one side the same or the other side different. Bring your awareness to your low back. Do you feel a pulling, a stretching, an opening? If you do, is one side more intense than the other? Bring your awareness to the space between your right lower rib and your right upper pelvis. Compare that space and what you notice there with the left lower ribs and the left upper pelvis. Notice what you notice. Bring your awareness to your fingers, to your toes. Start to move them. Bring your arms all the way overhead. Bring your feet straight out from you and point your toes and reach your fingers away. Stretch your body glove. Notice if the right side feels the same as the left. For those of you that have rotational aspects coming into your body, whether it's in your hip joint, your spine, in your neck, you may experience one side different than the other. So something to notice. Let's go ahead and bend our knees. It's important to know your body so that you could start to move away from dysfunctional patterns, start to heal, start to put your bag of bones in a more asymmetrical or properly aligned position. And then let's roll ourselves onto our right side. I speak from a place of having those issues in my own tissues. And I can feel and notice some of what I ask you to notice. Let's take your hand on the floor and let's start to bring yourself up to seated. When you can find asymmetry in your body, you can start to bring yourself into a more symmetrical place, noticing where the issues are in your body. Hopefully that rotator cuff example was really great. Many people have shoulder issues. People say the word rotator cuff. Quite often they call it rotator cup, or I don't know, there's other words people use. It's four ligaments, sorry, four tendons on the end of muscles that are holding on to this ball that's trying to pull down to the ground all the time and is always forward because we text, we computer, we watch, we do things. So hopefully I'm getting a little bit of raised awareness for you there. So and it's what people are complaining to me about the most these days are shoulder issues. So let's come onto all fours. Let's deeply now set that shoulder in the socket. And then I'd like you to take your pointer fingers forward. So because this is stress reduction, stress management, I want to think of that word stress. Stress is whenever something is having more demands than usual, whenever you're being asked to do more than you can, whether it's in your mind when you're thinking and worrying about things, or it's in your body because you're not in alignment and your joint is being pulled on. So come onto all fours, pointer fingers are forward. Let me say one thing about wrist joints here, because wrist joints, when you put your body weight on to correct and deeply root this shoulder, you may start to have something happening here. So it is a nice thing for those of you with actually, why don't we all try this? Let's take our blanket a little farther back on the mat. So take your blanket a little farther back on your mat. So you have much more front mat space. And especially those of you that have thinner mats. I happen to have a very thick mat. It's the very first mat I ever purchased. And it's a very thick mat. So, and a lot of people have thinner mats. And if you don't have a mat, then get a blanket. So for those of you with mats, you're going to roll your mat up so that we're going to minimize our wrist joint flexion, all of us, even if you have pretty strong wrists. Let's minimize the wrist joint flexion. And one thing that's important here is notice the difference between my knees and my hands. The distance between my knees and my hands is the distance of my shoulder joint and my hip joint. What I see when I'm with people, whether it's in person or now in my private sessions or on Zoom in whatever capacity that is, people's hands are too close. They're much closer to their body. So they're much closer to their body than their shoulders. So the wider you could be here, you're going to create more space for your spine. And then let's take the fingertips on the floor. So really push your fingertips and your thumbs into the floor so that you're evenly distributing this weight. We're going to do something called flossing the shoulders. And I don't know if you can see it that well. Basically, my arms stay straight. I'm going to let my whole rib cage move down to the floor, and I'm going to push my arms and move my rib cage up. So I'm actually taking that shoulder joint, and that shoulder joint is gliding up and down in its space. Now, with those of you that have acute issues, which means you have pain right now, and acute means less than 3 months, it means it's happening right now. There's nothing cute about it, but they call it acute. Or if you have chronic issues, notice if this maybe or maybe not feels good. We're getting those muscles that draw the shoulder blades towards each other to move back and forth. And there's a little bit more of a passive aspect to this. So notice what you notice and only go within the range of motion that feels okay for you. And then you're going to go ahead and let your mat go. You're going to start to crawl around. We're going to, and then we could even come up onto fists for wrists. So instead of avoiding completely because your wrists are not okay here, I want to give some options today. So if you take your hands, fists for wrists. So it's that first knuckle that's on the fingers to the second knuckle that becomes the pad. And then you could even have your hands a little bit more forward. So most of this weight stays in your pelvis and in your lower extremities. And I've mentioned this before, in case some of you have not heard this, crawling helps to realign almost every single joint that we have in our bodies. And so it's a nice thing to do to kind of get this realignment to come back in. All right, bring yourself back. Let's re-roll up our mats. Take your hands onto the edge so that you're minimizing. What we're minimizing is this bend here in the joint. So this would be an extreme 90-degree flexion with the wrist. We're actually going to minimize that. If you minimize that, it takes away the tension. And you press your fingertips into the floor. Now take your hands wide. So they're as wide as your mat. If you don't have a mat, it's about 2 feet. And then widen your knees and walk your knees back. So lots of space in your body here. You're going to come into what's called extension cow pose. The tip of the tail points up towards the wall behind you, and the crown of the head points up towards the wall away from you. So come into this really nice, deep, deep position. Inhale and exhale. And keep moving back and forth through the flexion and extension, inhaling and exhaling. So keep going. I need to turn off my notifications. Okay. So inhaling and exhaling through your flexion and extension, really wide, wide, wide. And then come into your extension. This is what we need more of in our body. So hopefully you could feel the low ribs are moving away from the legs. So draw your low ribs away from the legs. Push your heart down towards the floor. Open up your throat. Take one more breath. And then let's walk yourself back, bring yourself up, like take your wrists and shake your wrists out. So that position there, that extension, that cow pose is the opposite of the way we move our bodies and sit. So when we talk about taking stress out, let's do the opposite. We do the opposite of what we were doing. So in everything, that's actually one of the main key aspects in the wisdom of yoga is this aspect of going opposite of what you're doing. So opposite movement in the body to take out the stress, opposite direction in the mind when you're in a grooved pattern of thoughts. Let's take the wrist, move the wrist back and forth. Okay, now I would like you to fully weight on your wrists. And if this doesn't feel good, then you can actually come onto back into rolling up the mat or a blanket or whatever. Okay, let's take the hand. So one palm is on the floor. You're looking at the back of the hand is on the floor. You're looking at the palm. Then you're going to inhale and rotate your trunk and then exhale to bring yourself down. Inhale to open. Have your hand pretty far away here so you get some range of motion. This is rotation. You're locking in your pelvis. You're not going to get a whole heck of a lot here. Notice they say that what we learn in yoga is the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So notice, are you going too crazy here? Are you pulling on your low back because you're trying to rotate, open even more than what you're supposed to do? Let your neck go along for the ride as well. And then bring yourself down. Let's do the other side. You're going to, palm is facing up. Think about your cervical spine and your thoracic. So from the belly button on up towards the crown of your head, that's where we want the movement to be, and the low body staying there. Wait a minute, that's crazy. And then push your belly button up towards your spine, contract your core to help protect that low back. Last one. And then go ahead and shake your wrists, turn your wrists around in circles, and then bring your hands together like this. If you could bring your arms together, bring your arms together. Not everybody can. So don't worry if that's not a range of motion you have in your body. Depending on how much you use certain joints, what you do will determine what the range of motion that you have in your body, and then go in the opposite direction. So sometimes that's frustrating for people if they can't get their arms together, but it's of the size of your arm bones in relationship to your body, and then maybe you have stored energy or your whatever. Anyway, it is what it is. It is. Okay. We're going to come right away into plank pose because I'd like to do a pretty strong core strengthening pose, and especially because we did a lot of stuff that can actually have an effect on the low back, the way we opened the practice today, and then that rotational aspect can also have that. So I'd like to do a dolphin plank, and you have a choice here to either use a block for your dolphin plank, or you can use your arms in this position here or in this position here. So let's come forward, and we already have the blanket pretty far back on our mats. Take your knees all the way to the back edge of the blanket, and then bring your forearms onto the floor. So at first, this is a modification of dolphin. And sometimes it's better to go through the modification before you see if you could do the big one. Keep your toes on the floor, your shins on the floor, your knees on the floor, and then drag your elbows towards your knees and your knees towards your elbows. Feel that deep hip flexion apparatus, the whole hip flexor aspect of us turn on. For those of you that want a little bit more, you could flip your toes under and lift your knees off. This is dolphin plank. The elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. So stabilizing those shoulders, this is strengthening that shoulder girdle. Press the hands into the floor, press the forearms into the floor. We're going to be here for a minute. I'll tell you when to come down. We've already been up for about 25. So because I started it from the modification. Bring your awareness to your arms, press your arms into the floor, press your hands into the floor, and then lengthen the back of the neck. The nose is pointing down towards the ground. You should not be looking straight ahead and crunching the back of your neck. And then press your left foot into the floor, press your right foot into the floor, really strong, and push the pinky toes in. If you'd like to lift the right foot up, you can press the left leg into the floor, lifting the right foot up. You don't have to do this. And then if you'd like to experience the other side, toes are under. This is very strong strengthening work, great for all those stabilizing aspects of the body, stabilizing those joints that we spoke about in the beginning. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself down. Let your pelvis come back onto the mat, onto the blanket. Because I've spoken a lot today about support in the joints and reducing the stress on the body so that we think about these aches and pains that show up in our body, which most often are in our joints. And of course, there's other areas that they could be, but most of the time they are in the joints. So these, what we're doing, very stabilizing, opening the rotators of the spine, opening up that whole shoulder in the beginning, and then the plank poses are fantastic for firing up and supporting and strengthening the stabilizers. You don't have to do it for a minute. Working up towards something would be great. And this right here that we're doing, it's called Sphinx pose. So let your elbows be directly underneath your shoulders. And it is more resting, yet there's stuff that's happening here. So let's set ourselves up. Take your feet so they're only about inches apart at your toe level. So you don't have to look down there, but they're not, you don't have a wide stance. Your feet are closer together. And then press the tops of the feet into the floor so that maybe the kneecaps are a little activated and they lift away from the floor. And then dig your elbows into the floor. And with digging the elbows and the hands, can you push the hands and the elbows into the floor? Push your heart forward. So you're going to use muscles inside that are going to open up the chest, adding to that extension position, and then pushing yourself away from the floor. Let your pelvis be heavy here. So I'd like you to feel some kind of sensation as you stretch the belly, where the low ribs are and the attachment of all of that supportive muscle, connective tissue to the legs. And relaxing your posture, strengthening your posture. Take one more breath. Kind of a long time to be there. Let's now take your elbows to the side, and then your hands are going to be like this. The hands are going to cradle the head like this, but straight. I'm just turning to show you. So you're going to take your hands and you're going to support your jaw. So hold on to your jaw, hold on to your head. I want your hands, I want you to yield the weight of the head to the hands. Let the elbows go out to the side and yield. So let the weight of the head go. You're not holding it up. And then maybe your nose down towards the top edge of your mat or the front edge of your mat. So the back neck is not crunched. Notice what happens to the back neck here. Your head so that you're letting the upper back and neck area have a break from holding this 10-pound object up all day long. Time putting your spine in a little position. Notice the left low back, notice the right low back. You may feel tightness, more space. So be very exploratory in your body. Is where you may have stored tension. And then let's take our chin to the floor. Bring your hand alongside your body so that your fingers are pointing backwards. The palms are on the floor, the thumbs are away from the body, the fingertips are pointing down towards the toes. And then you're going to have the nose touching the floor. On the inhale, press your hands down into the floor and begin the sky. The back of the head is up towards the sky and the upper back is up towards the sky. And then exhale to lower. Now keep your tushy soft. Do not contract your buttocks. Inhale to rise. Exhale to lower. So let the back muscles contract to lift you up, strengthening the support of what holds you up. Inhale to rise. The center of the back of the head is pointing up towards the sky. It's not pointing towards the wall behind you. So keep your neck nice and long. Let your elbows bend in towards your body. Don't let them go out towards the side. One more time. Inhale to rise. Stay here. Push your pinky toes into the floor. Don't let it be just the big toe and the second toe. Feel at the back of the body, one shoulder blade and the other shoulder blade. They're lifting up towards the sky. Tushy is soft. Back of the neck is nice and long. You feel some heat in your back, strengthening the muscles that support you and hold you up. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back down. Bring the forearms onto the floor, the palms onto the floor, the inner elbow, the forearm, and the palms. Let your forehead touch the floor. So the center of your forehead touches the floor. On the inhale, press your arms into the floor, lift your body up. This should feel a little more easy, maybe, and then you get a little bit more range of motion here. So just notice what you notice. Close your eyes. See if you can feel the back, the muscles that attach to your pelvis that go all the way up the spine on both sides. The next time you come up, do you feel the right side contracting and lifting you up? Do you feel this? Have length in your spine when you do this. So when you rise, let your head reach away from you. Up here. Can you take one hand down alongside your body, palms up towards the sky, the thumb touches your body, walk your feet closer towards each other. Squeeze your tushy and lift your legs off the floor, lift your hands off the floor. Coming into a locust pose, bringing the muscular action now to the glutes, to the backs of the legs, the whole posterior chain. This is the opposite of that plank position, the plank position doing the front of the body. Now we're in the back of the body. Lift your hands higher. Palms face up towards the sky. Imagine you're holding plates on your palms and plates on your feet. The soles in the palms, let them reach up towards the sky. Reach your fingertips away, reach your feet away. And then lengthen your head, lengthen your neck, forehead and nose pointing down towards the ground. Notice the back of the body, the right side, the left, even. Take one more breath. And then you're going to slowly, slowly go down, let go of all of those muscles that were lifting you up. Turn your head in one direction so that you get the cheek and the ear to touch the floor. Palms are up towards the sky, arms are alongside the body, thumbs are right near the body. If your head and neck doesn't like this, whatever direction your face is in, if you're feeling tension, you could slide the hand all the way to the side, palm is down, and you may even need to bend the elbow to get relief in the head and neck. This just depends how much muscular tension or tightness you have in the upper back and neck area. So just notice what you notice. This right here, these kinds of movements we're doing today is a nice way to let gravity, the joints, and the muscles and tendons and ligaments and all the connective stuff that will give in our joints. Your belly. And a lot of what we've done today also could show up in your low back. We were strengthening our backs, but the breath go down to the belly, and that will help. And then So don't just pick your head up off the floor. Tuck your chin down towards your chest. Lift your head up gently. Rotate your cervical, the cheek, the ear. Notice that one side may feel tighter than the other. Just notice that. Most of us look one direction most of the time. Lighter side, a weaker side, a stronger side. So just raising your awareness. Side or bend the elbow, slowly find that in your body. Body be the guide on what you need and where you need to go. Belly. And then bring your right hand up away from you and then roll all the way onto your right side. Cradle your head in your right arm. So today is about raising awareness on your joints, on how your body is structured, and where you have tightness or weakness, where you have asymmetry, one side is different than the other. And it's also about the movement, raising your awareness to how you throw your bag of bones around on a daily basis, being a little bit more cognizant of movement patterns and the way we move. So now from getting up, we're going to be careful we don't put excessive pressure on our back body. We're going to strengthen our arm and our shoulder area. Take your hand, open your hand on the floor really wide, and then look down at your hand. So your head is even moving down to your hand, so that as you begin to push away, it's the shoulder that leads the way and not the hand. And then that's another aspect of that. So of course, feel what issues, but in that case, we're strengthening this part of our shoulder joint by pushing ourselves away from the floor. And since we were on our right, for most of us, that was the left side. Most people are right-handed. So maybe those of you that are left-handed, you could actually do it in the other direction every now and then. So that's strengthening the back, which is going to help to hold that shoulder back in its place, as opposed to letting it be forward all the time. Okay. And even if you don't have shoulder issues, your shoulders aren't bothering you, this is so supportive. And this raised awareness is lovely to stay out of a place of pain and discomfort. So this is for preventative aspects, which is one of the aspects of the yoga practice as we age, is to preserve what we have. Okay, so I'd like you to come into a balanced position, and I know not all of you can. So for those of you that your knees don't like to bend, this is impossible. Sorry. For those of you that have your knees bending, let's do this. You're on top of your toes, so your toes are actually bent, and you're in a balanced position. Try to bring length into your spine, bring your hands forward. For those of you with the knee issues and you can't do that, be somewhere where you're moving your arms, or take some breaths in and up. All right, and then let's come down. So that's a little fun way to strengthen your feet, to strengthen your ankles. Great for balance. For those of you that still have this ability, try not to lose it. So, and for those of you that are close to being able to do it, you can maybe work slowly but surely to open the feet, the ankles, whatever it is. Knee flexion, we really don't want to push that. And it really depends on what your issues are that you can't bend your knees. So I don't think you should push anything. But for those of you that have this, maintain it. Maintain your ability to have that strength in your feet, that flexibility, and that movement in your knees. Okay. All right. So let's stretch our side. So we're going to stretch this lateral chain. And for it, throughout today, I've asked you to look at patterns. Are you weaker on one side, stronger on one side? Are you more tight on one side? So we're going to stretch the lateral. We're going to stretch one side at a time. So let's come onto your knees. Now this is called puppy dog. This is my pelvis. The pelvis is the largest bony structure in the body. So there's a lot of weight with it. So the pelvis can move back, the pelvis can move forward. The pelvis moves back and moves forward. And what's making this happen is flexion of the hip joint, flexion of the knee joint. So I'd like you, when you come into your puppy dog, the pelvis, I want the pelvis to stay in the air. So this is puppy dog. Pelvis is in the air. But I want you to make, then your pelvis needs to be back. So if your pelvis is right here, there's a more downward movement forward. If your pelvis goes back, it actually helps to pull and lengthen the upper body. This is child's pose, when you're in full flexion in your knees and your pelvis, and your tushy is right near your heels. I don't want tushy near the heels. Bring your hands forward, bring your hands wide. I find that many bodies are capable of doing this. So a lot of bodies have knee flexion issues. Many bodies are able to do a puppy dog. And we don't want to round the upper spine. So look how flat my spine is with the hands long like this. The shoulder blades are on the upper back, helping to minimize flexion. And then I'd like your forehead to go on the floor. So you have to have your pelvis be moving back. Don't let your pelvis be forward. The pelvis is moving back. There's a stretching happening in the body. Let the forehead touch the floor. Let the pelvis be moving back. Palms are on the floor. Spread your palms on the floor to stop that from happening. And there should be, or there may be, a very deep stretch underneath the shoulders. For those of you that this is impossible to get down, you could take a block and put a block underneath your forehead. Take one more breath. For me, I feel a great deep stretch in my chest and in my armpit, where my arm attaches to my body. So let's take our hands and walk our hands over to the left. So you could look up for this. You don't have to have your head all the way down. Walk your hands over to the left. So the right hand is all the way over to the left. And the left hand is on the left too, but the right hand goes all the way over. And then let your pelvis feel like it's falling back. Push your right hand into the floor, stretching the heck out of the right side of your body. And if you'd like to accentuate that, take your head, place your head on top of your right upper arm bone. Rest the weight of the head there. So it's like your hips into the right side, and you should feel a very deep stretch, very thick connective tissue. This lateral chain tissue, it's very thick, the connective tissue. So the stretch you feel, you can areas. This is lateral chain, opening up the pathways of the lymphatic system. A lot of nodes underneath the armpit. Anything that's in that area now, stretching, lifting, moving, creating that movement. Also, shoulder is a part of this. So getting something to happen in that lateral chain here. Take one more breath and then bring yourself up. So I feel an extremely deep stretch when I do this. So hopefully I'm able to articulate this for you to find that in your body. Because sometimes people say, I can't feel this. So I'm hoping to say all the things necessary to get you to feel it. The big thing is the pelvis. Don't let your pelvis be over your hips, over your knees. Don't let your pelvis be forward. The pelvis, the entire big bony structure of your pelvis, needs to be pulling back so that you are getting that deep stretch, creating that force. Let's walk the hands over to the right. The left hand gets all the way over to the front or the side of the mat, where the right side of the mat, and the right arm is over there as well. Oh, and keep your elbows as straight as you can. That's another thing here. Keep your elbows as straight as you can. And then when you lower your head down, when you come into more hip flexion, bending at the hip joint, letting the weight of the pelvis move back, you could rest your head on that left upper arm. You could push your hips to the left, accentuating that deep stretch on the lateral chain on the left side of the body. And then once you're in that deep place of stretch, bring your breath there. Breathe to where you feel the sensations. Press the left hand into the floor. Let the pelvis be moving back so you feel like you have to hold your body so it doesn't fall towards your feet. Take one more breath. And then let's bring yourself up. Let's come on to our shins, do a little bit of movement here. So to take breaks throughout your day to bring some potential flow and maybe some release and some feeling to the shoulders, take your hands alongside your body. Let's inhale to open. This is expansion on the inhale, exhale to close. When you inhale to open, let your arms go pretty far back. When you exhale to close, keep your upper spine where it is. Do not round your upper spine. Inhale to open, exhale to close. Inhale, open, exhale, close. Stay here. Let your hands come down alongside your body. Palms are inward, so the palms are facing the body. You're going to inhale, left hand up, head rotates to the right. Exhale down slowly. Go slow, especially if you're someone with issues in your tissues. Inhale, right arm goes up, head rotates to the left. Inhale down. Feel the stretch, especially at the end range of motion, where you go into the place where it's the end of the range of motion in your joints, whatever that is. We're doing cervical rotation, so we're releasing tension in the head and the neck, and you're lifting your shoulder up, moving the shoulder in different place inside that joint, activating muscles. Notice what you notice. There's a nice release that can come into the head and neck here with this movement. So we're going to be doing this movement on the floor with our bridge pose. I wanted to do it here so you understand. The head rotates in the opposite direction of the arm. Just notice what range of motion you have and notice what you feel in your head and neck. This is good for those of you that sit a lot, that work. This could be your breath break. Raising one arm, rotating the cervical spine in the opposite direction. And then bring yourself back to center. Whenever I do this stuff, I notice a release of stuff in my head. I feel things stretch. I don't feel things. Well, I feel things stretching, but I'm able, there's almost like if there was okay, I get it. I get what it is. I feel the unkinking of the hoses. I feel fluids moving. I feel almost like, oh, I could hear better or something like that. So I'm not just saying this to say this. I really believe in this stuff for healing. I think yoga is unbelievable. I love this practice. So we are going to need our block for this next part and the blanket too as well. So bring yourself down onto the floor. If you have osteoporosis, because I work with so many people with bone density issues, you want to stay safe in your movement. And then if you come down, maybe even it would be good for all of us to learn that, just to learn another alternative for the normal way you're moving, because especially if you're noticing asymmetry, we want to correct that. Let's take the block between the thighs. Let's do a little bit here to get ourselves nice and linear, using the core to support that. Take the hands behind the head, clasp the hands behind the head, elbows are out to the sides, neck. So feel the support of your thumbs on your neck, and especially those of you that have issues in your cervical spine and your neck, let those thumbs be beautiful, gentle support, almost like a splint would be in for an arm or something. So let your thumbs go down either side to create this linear supportive aspect to your cervical spine. Cradle your head, press your arms into the floor so strongly that you feel, and then come out of that for a second. Bring your awareness to the back of your body, all the way down to your sacrum, which is the base of your spine in your tailbone. Don't do anything else. Don't squeeze your block or anything. Slowly press both elbows, the backs of the arms, into the floor, and feel that back of your body turning on when you do that. Notice where you feel that. And notice that goes all the way down to your lower, which is embedded in your pelvis, pressing into the floor, because there's a postural correction of the thoracic spine, especially for those of you that have roundness in the upper body. And it's going to translate all the way down the spine because we're affecting one curve. All right, squeeze the block. That'll bring it to the adductors and to the pelvis. Inhale. To contract the core, let's imagine that we zipper ourselves up. So you draw inward and upward and push down, trying to flatten your low back on your exhale as you slowly lift yourself up towards the sky. Elbows are out to the side, tip of the nose is pointing up towards the sky, and then inhale to lower. Exhale, squeeze the block, start to zipper up from the base of your body all the way up in the spine into the floor. Elbows are out to the side. Inhale to lower. One more like this. Squeeze the block, zipper, 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 strong contraction. Stay here for a breath. Low back is pressing into the floor, and then you're going to inhale to lower. Pressing the low back into the floor, we're going to strengthen your trunk in the way that we need these muscles to be to hold you up when you sit, when you stand, when you move in your natural movement pattern before you bend or do anything else. Okay, so we're not going to lower the back. Pressure on the floor. Let's take an inhale. Zipper up the midline. So contract the core, push the belly towards the front of the spine, but don't push the spine towards the floor. Lift the upper, move less. Inhale to lower. It'll be a small when you don't have a spinal flexion to the lumbar spine. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. One more. Exhale to rise. Stay here. Breath into your lungs. Exhale, reiterate that strong, firm hold. Hug, take the block. Oh, keep the block there, actually. Let's do that same movement we did when we were up. Take your blanket away from the back of the head. The back of the head is on the floor. Bring your arms down alongside your body. Squeeze the block. Just keep your feet where they are. Don't move them closer to your body. So do a little bit like this so that your feet aren't too close. You didn't come in here. I want you to just pick your feet up and then put them down. All right. We're going to press your feet into the floor. Let the low back touch the floor. Inhale, let the left hand come up and rotate your head to the right. Exhale to lower. See if you can let that hand go all the way up and touch the floor. Inhale to rise. Exhale to lower. Let your palm face your body. Lead with your thumb. Let your palm face your body, lead with your thumb. Try to let the thumb touch the floor when you come all the way up and over if you can. Go slow, strengthening the back of the body, the glutes, the low back, the hamstrings, the posterior chain. A lot of muscles here. One more each side. One more, left hand comes up, head goes to the right, thumb touches the floor. And then the other side. So go really slow. Push your toes into the floor too. Not just your heels, your whole foot. And then bring yourself back to center. Let's walk the feet closer to the body. Try to have the center of the heels be in alignment with the center of your tushy cheeks, your buttocks, right in the center. So you're not wider than your body. You have a block or a blanket or something between your legs. Squeeze that like crazy, turning on the adductors. Those adductors, they attach to the pelvis, and then they become where the pelvic floor is. So it starts to activate the base of the core when you do that. And then posterior tilt, let the low back fall into the floor. Lengthen the back of the head. Do not look side to side here. Squeeze the block, squeeze the tushy, lift the body off the floor. Try to push the left foot into the floor and the right. Go slow, go even. Feel symmetry in your body, strengthening the back of the body, strengthening your support and your structure that hold you up. Squeeze your block, squeeze your tushy, your chin towards your chest. Try to lift the back of the ribs up off the floor, pressing the heart towards your chin. You can clasp, and if this feels pretty challenging, press the elbows and the upper arm bones into the floor, palms face each other, fingers are open. Lift your rib cage away from the floor a little bit more. So lift, push away from the floor with your feet, the toes, all parts of the feet. Let the chin touch the chest. Lengthen the back neck. Feel that the weight came into the upper back, not the head and neck. Squeeze the block, squeeze the toe. Take one more breath. And then when you come down, go slow and put one vertebra at a time onto the floor. So feel that. Feel your spine, one bone at a time touches. When you come to the lower ribs, lift the heels off the floor. Push the belly button to the spine, posterior tilt. Try to get the low back to touch the floor first. lengthening and stretching before the edge of the pelvis touches. And then draw the knees into the chest. Take the block out. We're going to do a twist to end to wring out any tension that was created in the body. So visualizing a rag that you want to rotate to get the water out. The main rotation happens right where the belly button is. So you're going to take you could have a block handy. Take your arms out to the side. Let your shoulder blades stay on the floor and let your knees be up towards your chest as you slowly roll towards the right. And if you already went to left, whatever, stay there. And if you need to put a block underneath your knees because your left shoulder blade or the opposite side shoulder blade wants to fly off the floor, you may need to do that. Or you may feel more comfortable putting it between either your feet or your lower leg or the knees. And then take your hand on that top knee. So try to let the shoulder blades touch the floor, let the knees be to the side. And then allow space to come in between your lower ribs and the top of your pelvis. Breathe down to your belly. Usually feel pretty yummy. So when it comes to stress reduction, it's nice to have a lot of support in our joints so that we minimize wear and tear and pain and suffering, because it's very stressful to be in a place of chronic pain. It's stressful to have your body always talking to you and communicating. This twisting action here, the relaxation part of the nervous system, the parasympathetic, innervates the thoracic spine where the ribs are attached. So this is actually another physical position to put yourself in that actually helps to facilitate the relaxation response in the body. Let's go to the other side. You're going to bring one knee at a time up towards your chest. So let's separate all of this action as we begin to roll onto our back, and then keeping the shoulder blades onto the side. Keep the knees pretty high to your chest because then the low back's on the floor and your little flexion in that lower lumbar. And then whatever you need here, maybe a block between your knees, maybe a block underneath, just feeling or noticing whatever feels appropriate in your body. Letting the shoulder blades be on the floor, taking the opposite hand if you'd like on top of that leg. Deep breaths down to your belly. Let each exhalation be a release and a let go. And stay here in your mat. Maybe exploring your shoulders, noticing how they feel, noticing how your body feels. So taking your awareness all the way. Let your head rotate the opposite direction of the knees, putting even more rotation fully into your spine. Let each exhale be a relaxed. Take 2 more breaths here in this twist position. And then bringing one knee at a time up towards center, bringing your knees into your chest. You're going to prepare for relaxation, complete relaxation, Shavasana pose, letting go of everything. Bringing a blanket under your head, bringing your legs up a wall or the chair straight out, whatever you need to do to put your body, your bag of bones, into a completely relaxed position. Let everything go. And stay here with your breath and your body. gently begin to deepen your breath. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Roll your ankles, your wrists. Bring your awareness to one leg at a time as you bend one leg at a time. And then bring one knee at a time into your chest. Today's class was to raise the awareness to our daily movements on a slow and integrated manner. So instead of subconsciously moving throughout our day, throwing our bag of bones around everywhere, we're actually more thoughtful of how we move. We notice where we need to strengthen and lengthen so that we actually show up every day to do that, to be protective of certain areas that need extra attention, so that we can minimize future wear and tear in our joints and issues in our tissues. Let's roll onto the right side. Using that left hand to just gently push yourself up to a seated position. An act of self-care to ward off future pain and suffering. Isn't that what we all want and need? Taking our hands together, find whatever is a comfortable seated position for you. The sound at the end of class today, bringing our awareness and that connection of mind and body together with sound to make that intention to ourselves of self-care and preservation and warding off future issues in the tissues or helping to heal the ones we have now. We're going to do the sound of blending the ah, the o, and the Take a deep breath down to your belly. We bow to each other. The word namaste is a mutual honoring of each of us that showed up today, that each other. Namaste. So I'd like to say that I always wonder what I should say and share. I go into a place in my mind with whatever it is I've learned and studied and believe up until this point in my life, and I share that with you. And I always wonder, or sometimes I wonder, like, how will it be perceived? I really believe in what it is I'm doing. I really believe that we have more control over our body and mind than we realize. And that we've come to this place today from a place of unawareness, of unconsciousness, whether that's too much stress in our life, in our body, whether we're in our yesterdays or our tomorrows and we're not living in our moments. I share this wisdom so that hopefully some light bulb will go off for some of you. For some of you, this will resonate on some layer or level where you want to implement self-healing into your life, to ward off the future pain, to take care of the present pain, and to let go of the past pain. And I really believe that this wisdom practice of yoga has the answers and the tools to do that. So for those of you that it resonates with, join me. For those of you that it doesn't, I'll try to candy coat it in honor of Halloween. Okay, Claudia, nice to see you. I didn't see that you were here before, so nice to see you. All right. Sorry about all that disconnection. Yeah, I mean, seems to be that connection seems to be an issue, right? And that's kind of what I'm talking about too, is our connection to ourselves. Okay. Well, hopefully it wasn't poor connection, broken. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna try to figure this out. Bag of bones concept. Yes. So don't throw it around like that. Oh my God, Tina, you're so cute. Yes, get rid of yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah, that's a great thing to do. Start our day off that today is today. Yesterday was yesterday, tomorrow is tomorrow, but today is today. So today is where I'm going to be. Today. Lynn and Dave, today, a lot of great stuff for you. So those break when you're working with your head and your neck. I thought about you a lot today, Dave. When I teach, because I can't see you guys, I bring some of you into my mind when I'm doing things, thinking, okay, this is great for this person. And this is what I imagine they're moving in this pattern. So then I'll even describe it a little deeper because I think, well, so and so has this issue and I need to like. So anyway, Dave, lots of stuff today for you. Um, George, hi George, I didn't even know you were there. Ooh, I'm not as crisp, or well, the video's not as crisp. Well, that's a bummer. Um, yeah, thanks. Safe Halloween to you too, Nancy. Um, your bag of bones. Thank you for your bag of bones. Yep, from my bag of bones to your bag of bones. All right. Thank you. Have a beautiful today. All right. Have a really beautiful today.